You're listening to Midlife Side Quest, the Over the Hill Gaming Podcast. Here's your host, John Wall.
As we get closer to the end of the year, and I start thinking about what my game of the year list might look like, I've noticed that this year I didn't play as many games as I normally would. A small part of that might be the gap from this spring until October when I wasn't doing any writing or podcasts, when you don't have to play games for, quote, content. You can just play what you want, when you want, which is why I played last year's Cyberpunk 2077 this year. But I still love playing lots of games, so I don't think it's just that. It's also not because, I can't afford to play all the games I want. I'm doing just fine financially, and even though I wasn't getting any review codes for most of the year, I could still play the games that I wanted to play. I think the lower number of games that I played this year comes down to one simple factor: the amount of hours that I am able to stay awake in the course of a day. Once upon a time, during my 20s and even my 30s, I could stay up until midnight or later playing games for hours and hours on end. I could survive off of 4 or 5 hours of sleep, and it was no big deal. I'd be fine. These days, not only am I pretty much always in bed by 10 o'clock at the latest, but at least once per week lately, I am taking a wonderful little midday nap when I get home from work. So between work, running the kids around to various activities, house responsibilities, spending time with my wife, and not being able to stay awake past 10 o'clock, the time just isn't there anymore like it used to be. But that's okay. I'm fine with that. I'm finding enough time to play the games that really appeal to me, and as long as I can squeak my hobby in here and there, I'm happy. When it comes to collectible card games, both physical and digital, I consider myself to be a novice. I have some experience in the area, but I'm by no means an expert. Way back in the 90s, I played quite a few collectible card games, or CCGs if you're a cool kid, like Star Trek The Next Generation, Aliens vs. Predator, the one based off of the Xena and Hercules franchises, back when I was able to enjoy Hercules without feeling sick to my stomach. In later years, I dabbled in some of the digital offerings like Gwent and Hearthstone, both of which I enjoyed, but they didn't hold my interest long term. So when I heard that a new game based off of the Marvel license had just recently launched, I thought I'd better give it a look due to my love of everything Marvel Universe. Hundreds of matches later, I am ready to declare Marvel Snap is not only probably my favorite digital card game ever, but it's one of my favorite games of 2022. And yes, I know I've been saying that a lot the last few weeks. There's a few things that make Marvel Snap so successful. And the first is executing on a concept that is so difficult to get right, and that is the ability to be incredibly easy to learn, but offer a great amount of depth and strategy as well. The game is played over 6 rounds, and each round you are given an increasing amount of energy to play cards from your deck of 12 that you build. In round 1, you have 1 energy. In round 2, you have 2. and so on and so forth. Your cards are placed across 3 locations in the game, and whoever controls 2 out of 3 of those locations at the end of round 6 wins. Simple so far, right? Each card in your hand is a character from the Marvel Universe and has both an energy cost and a power number. That power number is what is added up in between or in each location to see who wins at the end. At its core, it's very simple and easy to wrap your head around. Where things get interesting are when you factor in the abilities of each card as well as the variables of each location. Each of the 3 locations that you play your cards at are randomly selected each game, and they all have some sort of curveball that they throw into the match. For instance, the Dream Dimension adds +1 cost to all cards on turn 5. And the Danger Room from X-Men, cards have a 25% chance of being destroyed when you play them. It adds a randomness that you can't account for when you're building out your deck. Then there are the cards themselves, most of which have some sort of special ability that you need to take into account. Scarlet Witch, for example, randomly changes the location where she's played, and Deathlock, who destroys all of your other cards at that location, which at first sounds like a bad card unless you pair him with, say, Bucky Barnes, who is a pretty low power card, but his ability is if he gets destroyed during a match, he turns into a much more powerful Winter Soldier card. You see where I'm going? You can get pretty far in the game by just picking characters that you like, but it's when you try and pair them up and build decks around these different strategies and abilities that things get really interesting. The second thing that makes the game so great are the cards themselves. If you love Marvel, you will love collecting all the great cards and checking out the cool artwork. I collected Marvel trading cards for years and years as a kid and loved it, so this definitely scratches that itch. There are multiple ways to unlock new cards, but the main ones are by making your way through the season pass and upgrading your collection. You'll get an introductory season pass when you get the game for free, and once that's complete, you can pay for one that changes, similar to most free-to-play games. They're $10. By playing, you'll also unlock gold and credits, which you'll then use to upgrade your cards, which then in turn raises your collection level. Each time you upgrade your card, it gets a cool new addition to the appearance, like a shiny logo or making it 3D, which is a really cool effect when you rotate your phone around. The upgrades only affect the physical appearance and not the abilities of the cards themselves. As your collection level goes up, you'll get more gold and credits and new cards. It sounds kind of like a lot as I am saying it out loud, but I promise when you're playing the game, it's easier to understand after just a little while. It's so much fun to get new cards and check out the great art. And you can also unlock variants for all the cards. So there are several different sets, including a pixel art set, a baby character set, and one where all the characters look like they've been taken over by Venom. They're Venom versions of the characters. For Marvel junkies, you are going to have an absolute blast collecting them and building decks, that are just like all X-Men or Guardians of the Galaxy characters. The last thing that really seals the deal for me is the quick pick up and play nature of the game. With just 6 rounds, matches will they'll last just a few minutes, making it super easy to get in a quick game while you're waiting for dinner to cook or during a commercial break or when You're dropping the kids off at the pool. It's quick. It's easy to understand. And the randomness, easy for you to say, of the levels and the fun character abilities mean that you'll have a different experience each time you play. The whole game just seems expertly designed to get the maximum amount of enjoyment in a short amount of time. And for someone who can struggle to find time to game, that is very valuable. Quick follow-up to last week's show. I did finish A Plague Tale Requiem the other night, and it wraps up in a fantastic, if slightly long way. Like so many games these days, it drags on a couple of hours longer than it probably needs to. But the last few hours are spectacular and emotionally powerful. It improves upon the original in pretty much every way, and it is one of the best games of the year. All told, it took me just under 20 hours to finish, and I highly recommend it for fans of stealth games and story-based adventures. So this past Tuesday was Election Day, and like probably everyone else in the country, it was very stressful. I was encouraged by a lot of the results that I saw. I was surprised by a lot of the results that I saw. While other results, weren't so great. Either way, there's probably some people out there feeling dejected or scared, especially if you live in certain states. In a lot of ways, this country has seemed to be heading in a direction where the rule book is just being tossed out the window, and politicians will lie or cheat or do just about anything else to hold on to their power. But you know what? There were also signs that the young generation isn't going to fall for the same BS that, quite frankly, us old folks have. If you live in one of those states where things didn't go your way, it can be tempting to feel like this game is rigged and your vote doesn't matter. But even if it didn't go your way, we can't lose hope and we can't give up. To do that would be to pass this mess on to the next generation. I am not willing to dump this crap in my kids' lap for them to solve down the road. The game might be rigged in some ways, but it only got that way because we let the people who rigged it get elected in the first place. I truly believe there are more sane people in this country than those who want to do it harm. But the only way to reverse some of the damage that has been done is to keep speaking out and making our voices heard. Even if sometimes it feels hopeless, maybe especially when it feels hopeless. So keep fighting. Don't give up. We owe it to our kids. Thank you for listening to Midlife Side Quest. I really appreciate you. You can catch new episodes every single Thursday wherever you listen to podcasts. And don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. That means an awful lot, and it is very important, especially for a young show. And don't forget, you can follow us on Twitter, while there's still a Twitter, at MidlifeSQ. Until next week, stay positive and keep playing.